is that as long as you keep sending a loving message, even if it looks like it's not being received, at some level in the deepest recesses of the brain, it is being received, and later on, maybe 10, 20 years later, the adult child can access those loving messages. Is that what you're finding in your research?
Yes, and I also say while you still have contact with your child, don't be too defensive. It's a problem that targeted parents have because they're so focused on how the other parent's setting them up and manipulating the kids to be mad at them that they forget to just say to the child, boy, we're fighting a lot lately, aren't we? What can we do? How can I be a better dad or mom to you? How can we work this out? I hear this all the time, that what happens is the alienating parent's like an evil genius. They set it up so the targeted parent and the kid are fighting against each other. Whatever, they find 1,000 ways to do it.
And the children learn how to do it too. They learn how to play the game. And they're supported by the court system. They know how to, they know when they create problems, it creates problems for the parent that's being alienated, and it makes them look worse. And they know how to play the game. They learn how to do it. And
this is the problem I have with the court system. I know you're saying a judge won't do it, but you know, why not? I mean, if a judge understands that children are being, his children, in my opinion, were being abused, why can you not get a judge to act, even if you have adolescent girls, if they're under 18, the court still has authority over them?
You know, under 18, it might seem that the court has the authority up until age 18, and that is the age of emancipation for custody and visitation purposes. But the reality is that most judges, starting at the age of about 11 or 12, will not force children to do things that they are very vehemently opposed to doing. And children in all court cases usually have a law guardian, an attorney who's representing them, and over the age of 11 or 12, the law guardian must come to court and be the voice of that child and advocate what the child wants at that age.
Do you all three agree with me that even though it looks horrible, it may not be as bad as it looks, that if you can get the child removed from the source? I mean, I think this is sort of simple physics. That is to say that the rage that the child is expressing is reflected rage, reflected from the alienating parent to the targeted parent. So if you can remove the child from the source of the rage, there'll be nothing left to reflect, and that there can be dramatic and sudden healing. Is that possible?
It's definitely possible.
Have
it
you
really
seen it?
Absolutely. It depends on how deeply planted the false beliefs are. You know, if you can get to the kids early enough, or like you said, if you can pull them out, you can definitely.
Have you seen that?
I think it's very important. The key word is early. I think in the case of a younger child, certainly an infant or even a 5-year-old, 7-year-old, I think, again, once you get closer to the teenage years, it's very hard to deprogram a child who has that ingrained negative belief about the parent. And I keep saying it, no judge is going to force a child age 12 to visit with a parent. They're concerned about the child running away. They're concerned about the child, you know, having psychological issues, suffering from depression, anxiety.
Would you not allow, suppose a child at 14 didn't want to go to school, wanted to take drugs. The judge would just throw up his or her hands and say, 14, nothing I can do. I'm having trouble with this. I mean, what you're suggesting is that if the child is 14, just forget about the court system. It's there only in theory, but it has no practical
I mean, that's not true. I think one of the things that judges do employ very frequently in a case of a teenager is something called therapeutic visitation, where perhaps there won't be overnight visits with the parent, but there will be court-ordered therapy where the father and child have you know, a forum where they could sit down with a third party and talk about their issues, and that can be a very healing process. I have certainly seen that work where parties are committed to the therapy.
Only if they really understand parental alienation. Otherwise, they just take the kid's side against the target.
And even if they understand it, if the one parent knows that as long as they don't cooperate, it's going to create a problem, and as long as there's a problem, they know that the courts are going to support to try and help the kids, that they're going the wrong way with it. They know that if they create problems, it's going to hurt the alienating parent. And some of the lawyers support this. I mean, I've seen them.
Yeah, but not Jackie.
No.
My answer to that would be is that you can't give up. And if you're faced with a complex situation like this, you have to be persistent and not give up on your children. Because if you give up, then you're not going to get anything out of it.
We just have a few moments left, and here's what I'd like to do. We have a father here. He has 2 teenage girls. The way I understand it, I mean, they're 18. The youngest has reached out to him, but it was a failed reaching out. Now, Rich, you have sitting on one side of you a woman who arguably has more expertise in this area than anyone in this nation, and a very skilled lawyer on the other side. I'm going to step back, and I really want you to help this man, just to give him some. He has 2 girls he's fighting for still. I don't want him to give up. I want the 2 of you to give him some help.
I'm not sure it was a failed attempt. It sounds like there was an emotional connection that was very important for you to feel reassured, bolstered in your efforts, and for her to know that you love her and are there for her.
She's not here, Amy.
Well,
what is he supposed
there's
to
a
do?
lot of damage that's been done. I mean, we're pretty far down this road at this point. It's not going to turn
And it
around
continues.
overnight.
It absolutely continues. Anything that happens that the other person can create a problem benefits that person in their brainwashing and continue to alienate the kids, because anything that happens, they just tell the kids that the other parent is the one who's creating this. The other parent's the one that's doing
this is
this.
where we disagree, right? Because we had a little bit of a conversation before. It's like you sort of see it as you reach out and your kid gets bashed, so you're being trained to not reach out because you want to protect your kid. But I would say if this woman is really abusive, she's bashing your daughter anyway, so you should continue to reach out because it's the right thing to do and because your daughter needs you to do it. Unfortunately, at this point, unless there's some legal remedy, you need to take the long view about what you're going to do to maintain a relationship with your kids, so you can be there when they're ready to come back.
I'm trying to find a way to, present that contact.
From a legal standpoint, once your children reach 18, the court no longer has jurisdiction to make any orders of custody or visitation. On the positive side, the mother no longer has the right to control the custody of the child once the child reaches 18, which means that you have every right to approach your daughter directly,
Can
to
he
call
do
her.
that?
Absolutely. If she's 18, he can go to her school, he can give her a call. I mean, you don't want to harass her or do something.
There are no legal consequences if he respectfully approaches his daughter?
Absolutely not. This is his daughter, and there are no court orders preventing you from approaching her. And I would say, I would join in with Dr. Baker that you should be contacting her respectfully, repeatedly, with love, and reaching out to her, because I think the fact that you had this contact a little while ago is a very, very good sign.
I want to give him hope, because I think that there is hope.
Well, I think one of the things targeted parents can do that they don't always think about is to create a website about yourself with pictures of you and your daughter. That's something that your kids could go to. Their mom would never know, unless she has spyware and she can track it. But kids can borrow each other's computers, and it's a way for you to communicate. You're putting something out there to her in the universe. She can come collect that message from you whenever she's ready.
Can I just say, we did a Dr. Phil show on the subject, and at the end he invited the parent to speak directly to his child, and we have 30 seconds left. I want to do the same thing. Rich, the camera is yours, the floor is yours. You want to speak to your daughters directly? Now's the time.
That's tough. I love them, and I know they're being hurt by this stuff, and we try to make life the best that we can for our kids. I
just have to interrupt you. I'm sorry, we're just out of time.
Oh,
but
okay.
I wish you well. I think there's hope. I think it's going to be okay. I have to have that faith. I have to end it here. I'm sorry, but I want to thank our panel. This is a great panel. Thank you all for this. Dr. Amy Baker, Rich, Jackie Harounian. Thank you all for a great discussion, and I want to thank you for watching Men's Net, joining us here. We'll see you next time.